Decade Project by Topanga, Savvy, and our cameraman Antonio.
That was good.
Welcome to the 1950s, a decade that changed music forever. The 1950s introduced the rise of rock and roll, blending rhythm and blues, country, and electric blues into a brand new sound full of energy and rebellion. Teenagers finally had music they could call their own. Legendary artists like Elvis Presley,
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Chuck Berry,
Go, 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 Johnny, go, go.
Ray Charles,
She give me money when I'm in need.
and Little Richard
I got a girl named Sue.
transformed the music industry with guitars, powerful vocals, and unforgettable performances. At the same time, traditional pop and doo-wop remained popular through smooth harmonies and emotional storytelling. Songs like Rock Around the Clock,
9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock, we're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Put your glad rags on, join me home.
Johnny B. Goody, and Jailhouse.
Man was jumping and the drum began to swing. You should have heard the knocked out jailbird sing. Let it rock. Everybody let it rock.
Became iconic hits that still influence music today. The music of the 1950s didn't just entertain people, it created a cultural revolution and laid the foundation for modern popular music. The 1950s fashion was basically the glow-up era after World War II. People were finally done with boring wartime clothes and started wearing brighter, more stylish outfits because fashion became mass-produced and more accessible. Big designers like Christian Dior, Givenchy, and Coco Chanel completely dominated the fashion scene. Dior made the hourglass body trend huge with tight waists, big circle skirts, poodle skirts, and colorful designs. Chanel kept it classy with its iconic Chanel suit that still influences fashion today. Celebrities were basically the influencers of the 50s. Marilyn Monroe was the fashion icon with glamorous dresses and feminine looks. Elvis Presley brought edgy biker style, high-waisted jeans, and dramatic stage fashion, while James Dean made leather jackets and jeans look effortlessly cool and rebellious. And when Bridget Bardot started wearing bikinis, they instantly became a must-have trend worldwide. Overall, 1950s fashion mixed elegance, rebellion, and teenage culture into styles that still inspire fashion today. 1950s culture was honestly such a turning point for entertainment and art. After World War II, people were dealing with fear, change, rebellion, and consumer culture. And you could literally see that in everything from books to movies. In literature, The Catcher in the Rye became the ultimate teen Angus? Wait. How do I say that? In literature, The Catcher in the Rye became the ultimate teenagist book with Holden Caulfield calling out fake adults and struggling with identity. Invincible Man explored racism and the feeling of being unseen in society. The Lord of the Rings basically created modern fantasy worlds, and On the Road represented freedom, rebellion, and deep generation culture. TV absolutely exploded during the 1950s too. I Love Lucy basically invented the modern sitcom format, while The Twilight Zone used creepy sci-fi stories to talk about racism, war, fear, and society. The Honeymooners became the blueprint for future family sitcoms. Movies were becoming bigger and more dramatic than ever. Godzilla wasn't just a monster movie, it symbolized nuclear fear after World War II. Ben-Hur became one of the biggest Hollywood epics ever made, while Some Like It Hot became iconic for comedy and Marilyn Monroe's star power. The Searchers changed Western movies by making characters more psychologically complex instead of simple heroes like in villains. The art world also shifted from Paris to New York. Artists like Jackson Pollock literally splattered paint to express emotion. while Mark Rothko used giant floating color blocks. Early pop artists like Jasper Johns turned everyday objects and advertisements into art, and Alexander Calder became famous for moving sculptures and called mobiles.
1950s politics were heavily shaped by the Cold War.
He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on
Anti-communist fears,
with the robin go tweet tweet tweet.
and the beginning of the civil rights movement. One of the most important political leaders was D. Eisenhower, who served as a president from 1953 to 1961. He focused on stopping communism, strengthening the economy, and creating the interstate highway system through the Federal Aid Highway Act. Harry S. Truman also played a major role by developing the Cold War policies aimed at containing communism. The fear of communism became extremely intense during the 1950s because of the Red Scare. Joseph McCarthy accused many Americans of being communist without strong evidence, creating panic across the country. At the same time, Richard Nixon gained attention from his strong anti-communist beliefs while serving as vice president. The decade also marked the beginning of major civil rights movement progress. Rosa Parks sparked a Montgomery bus boycott after refusing to give up her seat in 1995. The protest helped launch Martin Luther King Jr. as a national leader who promoted peaceful protest and nonviolence.
Darling, you send me, I know you send me.
Another major event was Brown versus Board of Education, where the Supreme Court ruled that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional, overturning the idea of separate but equal. Internationally, the 1950s were dominated by the Korean War.
First I thought it was infatuation, but ooh, it's
A major Cold War conflict between Communist North Korea and Democrat South Korea. North Korea was supported by China, and the Soviet Union and South Korea was backed by the United States and the United Nations. The war ended in 1953 with a ceasefire, but Korea remained divided. Overall, 1950s politics reflected both Cold War tensions and growing fight for civil rights and equality in America.
Scroll. Oh. Hello. Welcome to our
Welcome to our 1950s decade project by Topanga, Savi, and Antonio, our cameraman.
Flip it.
Fine.
That's it.
There we go. I'm already recording.
You can't tell me.
10 seconds in.
Dior made hourglass watch.
No.
Fashion. while James Dean made leather jackets and jeans look effortlessly cool and rebellious.